Hi, I'm Jackie Tran. I'm the Healthcare Student Associate at Beam here at Stanford, and we're currently talking to Sheela Hegde, who is a partner at Health Advances, which is a company based in Boston and also has an office in San Francisco. Sheela, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about your role at Health Advances in your company?
That sounds great. Well, thank you for that introduction, Jackie. I'm Sheela Hegde, as she mentioned. I'm a partner at Health Advances. I lead our biopharma practice here at our company. I've been at Health Advances for 10 years. I came to Health Advances after my MBA. I've actually been in the life sciences industry all my career. I did hum bio at Stanford, and after Stanford, I actually worked at the advisory board company for 3 years in DC. And then I went and did my MBA. And at that point, I realized that I really wanted to be on the technology side of the industry, because the advisory board actually consults for hospitals and focuses more on healthcare delivery. And I realized that I was most excited about life sciences technology, meaning new drugs, new medical devices, new diagnostics. And so when I went and I did my MBA at Harvard Business School, and it was a time when there's a lot of biotech happening. As you know now, Kendall Square is just such a mecca for biotech, and I was very excited about the biotechnology industry. And I did an internship at a biopharma company. And when I was graduating from HBS, I realized that I really wanted to focus on the life sciences sector. And I found Health Advances as a consulting company that only did strategy consulting for life sciences companies. And so I've been here ever since, for 10 years, as I mentioned.
Okay. So now we've learned a little bit about your company. You are a Stanford alum, so it'd be great to hear about your experiences at Stanford and your experience as a hum bio major and what kind of organization you were involved in, things like that.
Sure, yeah. So I love my time at Stanford. Stanford's a fantastic university. And part of why I went to Stanford actually was for the hum bio major. I thought it was a really well-designed interdisciplinary major, and loved how they really integrated the hard sciences with social sciences to really develop kind of this holistic view of health and biology. So one of the reasons I was drawn to Stanford was for hum bio, and I was very involved in that program while I was at Stanford. I did an honors thesis and field study with some of the hum bio staff. So it was really a big part of my career there. Outside of studies, I actually did a lot of work with Sanskriti, which is the cultural organization for South Asians. So I was very involved every year with the annual show. And I also did some volunteering. We started a mentorship program while I was there, where we worked with youth from East Palo Alto and did some mentorship. So I did some volunteer work while I was at Stanford as well. And I actually, for 1 or 2 seasons, worked with students from Japan and Korea that would come over to Stanford. There was a summer program where they came over to Stanford, and it was intended to immerse them in kind of American culture and in English. So it was a residential program. So I actually worked on that one summer and again in one spring. And the spring program was more focused on career development. So I feel like I did a lot of cross-cultural activities during my time at Stanford.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you're super involved, pretty much like every Stanford student is. Yes. So jumping back to a little bit about your work at Health Advances, I mean, I know you're the partner, or you're one of the partners. And so I guess it'd be interesting to learn a little bit more about like your everyday activities. Like, what does your job entail?
Sure, yeah. So my job, I wear a lot of different hats. It's one of the reasons why I love my job. As a partner, I am first and foremost responsible for bringing in business. So I am helping to represent Health Advances, win client business. So most of my day, it's probably me meeting with different companies and clients, whether it's in the Boston area or via phone or traveling. But what I'm doing is meeting with clients to help them understand the value that Health Advances can offer as a strategy consulting firm, speaking about some of their specific challenges, and then writing proposals and selling projects. So that's probably the biggest part of my job. And then beyond that, once we sell projects, we're responsible for delivering them and making sure that we're delivering high quality advice and really strong research and analysis. So I'd say that the next large part of my day is really spent in meeting with my team, so with my engagement heads, making sure that all of the research is going on track, helping them to synthesize insights and develop strategic recommendations. I'm meeting with teams, helping them whiteboard, brainstorm, and then I'm reviewing presentations and final deliverables. Okay. And then beyond that, I'm also, as a partner, one of the leaders of the firm, and so we are working on firm-wide strategic planning. So whether that's, for example, right now, we're figuring out how to allocate internal committees and resources. We're also planning for the conferences that we're going to be represented at. So there's some firm-wide initiatives that I also help plan or inform decision-making around. So those are kind of the big parts of my job. So, on a day-to-day basis, like I said, often most of it's meeting with clients, meeting with teams, and then just internal operational meetings.
So what do you consider the most exciting part of your work?
I love what we call cracking the case. So I just really love kind of the intellectual challenge of, the client has this problem, whether it's, really tough marketing challenge or, a whole new area that they want to invest in, and we need to figure out if it's the right investment. And I just love that part of my job where the team, our teams are so smart and they're collecting great insight and doing a ton of research. And when we all come together and just really crack through it and figure out, all right, what's the right answer for our client? Like, to me, that's what kind of really that gets me up in the morning is really solving those challenges. I think it's just intellectually really stimulating. But not only that, I love the team collaboration that comes with it. And that's also what I love about consulting is that we're always working in teams, we're always working together and brainstorming, and just love the kind of the meeting of the minds and just how strong that can be. So I'd say that's the most exciting part of my job.
Okay. I know you're in leadership, obviously, but a lot of the students that will be coming out of Stanford and looking at your company will obviously be looking at like entry-level positions and the analyst position. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and what you would be doing as an entry-level analyst, I guess.
No, great question. So yes, our analyst position is where we recruit undergraduates into. And the typical day-to-day responsibilities of our analysts, they are responsible for organizing our market research. So we do a lot of research on the phone. So when we're working in and evaluating the potential of a new therapeutic or a new medical device, we want to speak with the physicians that are going to prescribe the products. We also want to speak with health insurance companies to understand how they're going to make coverage decisions around these products. And finally, we speak a lot with patients as well to get that experience. And so part of the analyst's job is to recruit those stakeholders, to make sure the primary research program is well organized. And then they support the interviews. So they'll participate in the interviews with our senior analysts who may lead the interviews, but the analysts will support in terms of making sure we're answering all the questions that are in our discussion guides and then taking the feedback and synthesizing that feedback. So I'd say that primary research is a big component. The next big component is what I call secondary research. So going through analyst reports, market data, databases like IMS or Evaluate Pharma, and really gathering kind of that background research that we need in order to set the baseline, but also to start answering specific questions like how fast is the market growing, or what's the number 2 and number 3 competitor in a new gene therapy space. So they're doing a lot of that secondary research for the team and making sure that the team is well educated. So I would say they're really doing a lot of that foundational research for our teams. And we make sure that our analysts, and I think this differentiates us, we do bring analysts to all our client meetings. They're part of the team. I think early on that they may get more opportunities to participate with clients than in other firms. So we do really make sure that you get strong professional development opportunities very early in your career here.
Okay. So when Health Advances is looking to recruit analysts, what kind of skills, experiences, characteristics do you guys look for?
Yes. So I would say, number one, we really recruit analysts who have a true kind of passion for healthcare, because that's all we do. We just do life sciences. So we want analysts that really have a good reason for wanting to do healthcare. It's not just one other sector that they want to analyze. It's really, they've got a passion for it. They have to be scientifically inclined. So even if it's not a science major, they're not afraid of reading technical literature or educating themselves if they need to, because we do get into the science behind some of the products we look into. And then I would say you have to be well organized. So as you can imagine, consulting is fast paced. You're always on a steep learning curve. Each client, you may be learning a new market, a new set of products. And so there's always going to be challenges in managing your time. So I think the folks that do really well here are really good at time management, but also with what we call kind of 80-20, like knowing where to invest most of your time and where you can spend less time so that you optimize your day. Because you're going to have a lot of meetings coming at you. We also have a staffing model where you're staffed on 2 cases at a time. And the reason why we can do that is we actually don't travel a lot. We're not on site at the clients. So we are actually doing most of the work and research at our offices. We just travel maybe in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the project to kind of formally present to the client. And also a lot of our clients are in the Boston area. So that makes it easier for people in Boston or in our San Francisco office. There's a lot of clients out in San Francisco. So it tends to stay local. And so because of that, I think it affords us to allow a double staffing model. But the challenge with that is that you are balancing demands from 2 different cases, right? And so I think, again, doing really well here, you need to be very organized, have excellent time management, and I'd also say excellent communication skills. So because you're going to have to be managing up, you're working in a team, you need to communicate your progress, you need to integrate your work stream with other work streams. So that communication also is critical.
Great, thanks for that. I'm sure it'll be helpful for when people are looking at your company. So I guess this is almost a difficult question to answer, but what makes Health Advances different from the other healthcare consulting firms?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's interesting because we've been in business for 25 years. I've been here for 10 years. And I would say, back then, there weren't a lot of consulting firms that were just focused on life sciences. But I would say in the last 10 years, I've seen at least 5 or 10 new companies emerge. So I do think it's getting more and more competitive. So I welcome this question because it's what makes us different. I would say a few things. Number one, because we have been around longer than a lot of the other consulting firms, we've got an amazing, what we call knowledge management system. And there's a ton of just, previous casework and systems that we've built that really help our teams just add so much more value to our clients. So we'll get clients and they'll say, well, we're developing a new product for acute respiratory distress syndrome. And we can say, oh, we actually did 20 projects in that. And they're like, 20 projects? But we have, because we've been in business for so long. And it helps our teams and our analysts because there's so much they can draw from and learn really quickly. So I think that really helps us, just that track record and all the years of experience we have. I think second, there are a lot of companies that do work with biopharma. I think there are less companies that cover all the sectors that we do. So we cover biopharma, that's where I sit. But we also have medtech, a whole practice just in medtech. We have a whole practice just in diagnostics and personalized medicine. And finally, we have a practice in health IT. And that's actually a newer practice for us. But we have depth in all those areas, which makes us really differentiated, especially when we get questions that are in areas of convergence. So for example, personalized medicine, you need to bring together therapeutics and diagnostics, and we really do well in that area because we have such deep experience in both those sectors. So I think kind of that deep cross-sector insight and creative thinking also differentiates us. And then last, I think that our senior management tend to get more involved in our projects maybe than other firms. Like we really don't just kind of sell and build a business and then walk away. We really love doing the projects. Like I said, my favorite part of my job is actually cracking the case. So we actually love, meeting with our teams, and we spend a lot of time with our teams. And I think that's a win-win because I think it develops a better quality project. I think it helps our staff grow. They can learn from us directly. And so then they get more experience and they get even better. So I would say those are the three areas of differentiation.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think a lot of times going into a company, people get afraid of being a cog in the machine, doing just the busy work, not really getting exposure to upper management. So that exposure is definitely a benefit. So you say that you've been at your company for 10 years. Obviously, the company's probably changed a lot. And I was wondering if you could talk about how Health Advances has grown in the past 10 years.
Sure. So when I joined 10 years ago, we were 30 full-time employees, and now we're 130. So we definitely expanded. When I started, we were just here in Weston, and Weston's 10 minutes outside of Boston. We call it Boston, or Weston. And now we've got the Boston office and San Francisco and Zug, actually. We also have Zug, Switzerland. It's our third office. We've got about 5 people there. So we've expanded our geographic footprint. And then we've actually built out a couple of new sectors. So it used to be mostly just biotech and med device, then diagnostics grew, and now health IT. So we've expanded it those 3 ways. And then lastly, earlier this year, actually, we announced a partnership with ParExcel. So ParExcel is a global contract research organization. And what's really great about this partnership is that while they're a huge CRO, we are a very independent operating subsidiary of ParExcel. So we can access ParExcel's strong, deep intelligence and experience in clinical development strategy and regulatory strategy, and then we bring commercial strategy. And so we can kind of access each other's strengths and skills and do what's best for our clients, but we can do it our own way. So we really like this partnership because we think it's going to help us grow to the next level. So we can really continue to be at the forefront and the cutting edge of healthcare strategy.
All right, that's awesome. I guess the next question people might be curious about is can you talk a little bit about the culture of the company in general?
Yeah. I really do feel like we have created a very collegiate environment here. It's probably what's kept me here for 10 years is I feel like you're always learning, and I love that. I just love that intellectual stimulation, and I also think that we have a very collaborative environment here. You kind of have to be working in teams, but we've created our structure and our systems in such a way that I do believe that it's in everyone's interest for the whole team to do really well, and so people really are more collaborative and competitive. So collegiate, collaborative, very kind of passionate and intellectually driven. I think that would just describe the culture.
Okay. I guess people might be curious about exit opportunities and where people go post healthcare consulting, because a lot of the time consulting is kind of a I don't know what I'm doing, let's do consulting kind of thing. And so what are some next steps if you don't stay within your company kind of thing?
Yeah, that's what I said when I joined, and here I am 10 years later. But I where we see employees here go after Health Advances, the number one is really industry. So I think that's probably the number one place people go. So local companies here like Biogen or Sanofi Genzyme, Millennium, so Takeda Millennium. So those are large employers, large biotech companies here. So people will go and pursue industry positions. There's also a lot of small to mid-sized biotech and medical device companies. So that's another place that folks will go. So really it's industry, I would say. Or at an analyst level, it's grad school.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you stayed there and you were promoted and you're now a partner. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that process of how can you be successful within Health Advances?
Yeah. I think, if you like what you do and you enjoy what you do, we reward people who just have passion and do good work. We're meritocracy based, and so we don't have rules like you have to do a 2-year analyst program and then you can be promoted. It's really, if you do well here, you can just run with it. And that's what's great about Health Advances. And I think that's part of what's helped me get to where I am and do well. I think some of the classic things that I see in people who progress well here is that they really want to get to the right answer to their client. They're very client-oriented, service-oriented. So, because that's what we are. We're basically a service business. And so this having this high level of customer service and doing what it takes to get to the right answer is the ethic I see in people who do really well here. I think people who, as I mentioned before, kind of those time management and communication skills are really important when you're working in a team consulting environment, when you're presenting and managing clients. There's a lot of, people and process management skills that you need to be successful. It's not just the analytics. It's not just, the intellectual pieces. You also have to be very good at managing people and processes as well. And that'll help you do really well.
Okay. I think that covers a lot of the basis of, what people are curious about. Just to kind of wrap up, do you have any final pieces of advice for people who will be going through the recruiting process for healthcare consulting and in general?
Yeah, I think I would recommend everyone, obviously do good case interviews because we always case interview when we're recruiting. And I would really spend time getting to know, because each consulting company is very different. Each of them has its own culture. And so talk to people who work there, network through the alumni networks. Because I think if you really speak to people who have worked at the companies and really speak to people who have been at the level you're recruiting into, because then you'll really get a good flavor of what the day of your life is, and also for the culture. You'll get a good sense for the culture. Because I remember for me, when I was interviewing at Health Advances, it was really the people I talked to that sold me. And when I saw women in leadership, I was like, well, this must be a sustainable career. And that's one thing I do want to say about Health Advances is that as far as consulting goes, it's been very sustainable because we don't do all the travel and because we somehow have a more sustainable work-life balance. And that was really important to me. And it was proven to me because I saw people who had been at the company for a long time. And so I would say that's really important. Really talk to as many people as you can.
Okay. Awesome. I hope we can get a lot more Stanford people in Health Advances. I think that'd be great. Yeah. But thank you so much, Sheela, for your time, for your words of advice. I'm sure that when people watch this, they're going to very much appreciate it. But yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, great to talk to everyone. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay.
Okay.